listen, straight back from Coachella.
Hey.
None of us.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Not a single soul.
None of us is straight back here from Coachella. But
I heard it was fire, though.
it gotta be.
It's hot.
It gotta be fire. For $450?
Oh, hell.
For $450?
Per night or for the whole weekend?
To ticket.
Does that go for the whole weekend?
Yeah. But you know, you got to pay the camp, then you got to pay the travel, you got to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for $700, Frank Ocean didn't have to do that to him.
What he do to him?
Oh, you ain't here?
He was late and then only played like a song and a half and then was like, well, I'll see y'all next year.
Wow.
It's even worse than that. He came up there and did one of these. Y'all sing the song. And it was just kind of like
karaoke.
A potato.
Is Frank Ocean still a hit maker?
He hasn't released anything else.
Yo, Coachella had the first ever Indian performer.
Oh, who?
Diljit Dosanjh.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that was a big deal.
Nav
cool.
has never been to Coachella?
Well, this is like he was singing Punjabi music.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name?
Diljit Dosanjh.
Diljit Dosanjh.
Yeah.
Damn,
I
that's
was
kind of
really expecting you to stumble on that.
No.
Proud.
I'm trying.
Yeah, so shout out to Diljit for repping the culture.
Very cool.
Good for him, Diljit. All right. Well, Sunil was out there racing on horses. How was that?
That was like a
He was
month
horse
ago.
racing.
Yeah, no, I went to Mexico.
Oh,
And
you
I'm
were
right.
riding horses.
So it was a cruise. It stopped in Cabo and it stopped in Ensenada. So the video that you guys saw is me riding a horse on the beaches of Cabo.
You just heard the Old Spice whistle.
Yeah, it was pretty fire. My first time ever riding a horse.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Christopher Reeves.
yeah. I was, and
What?
it was kind of wild because
Don't call him that. That's how he broke his neck.
knock on wood, it didn't happen. I'm still here.
Come
Chris.
on
Okay.
now.
It's a joke.
Christopher
It's not I'm
Reeve?
about to ride a horse.
Put
I already
that on
rode
him.
it. I already rode the horse. I survived, but it was kind of wild because there was some locals that were there, some kids that were playing around, and I guess there was like a sign, like a stop sign or something that was tipped over for whatever reason. So these kids were like grabbing it. So it was metal dragging on the ground. And there was a group of us riding these horses. And then the horses got freaked out.
Ah, shit.
So I'm on this horse, right? And this horse is like super broken in, super trained. Like it's chilling, right? I've never ridden a horse. So if this horse starts doing some crazy stuff, I just barely learned in 10 seconds how to ride a horse. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden this horse gets spooked and is like bolts the other opposite direction. I'm like, whoa! And luckily, it listened and stuff. But that could have been crazy.
You see? He almost did,
That could have
Christopher
been
Reeve.
crazy.
Why are you saying that?
But my
Because you
horse,
said it first.
my horse El Nino. Shout out El
There
Nino
you
over
go.
there. Like, thank you for keeping me safe.
Let me ask you a question. When I went to Mexico, I went to Tijuana.
Yeah, you did.
Actually, I went to Rosarito. And they put the horses in front of like the wall.
Mhm.
And so they look like they're sleeping or
So this was like a ranch. So these horses, they had one where they were tied up. So these have rules for the horses and stuff like that. They could only do so many tours, and then they have a pen where they could like run freely and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they'll let them run free on the beach and stuff,
Okay,
and then they'll
okay.
come back and stuff. So these horses weren't like that. But the thing that was interesting, there's flies all around them, which kind of sucks. Like a lot of flies, and they're just like trying to like blow the flies and stuff. But I think it's also because I think it's just natural for
That's
horses
why they
to
call
have
them horse
flies.
flies.
Yeah. Are they called horse flies?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So that's like,
Oh.
I guess it's a real thing.
The more we know.
Yeah.
All right, so you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time.
You went by yourself?
Yeah.
Dang.
I did the cruise by myself. Thank God I did the unlimited drink pass, but it was not really unlimited, but you just don't have to pay for it on thing because that's how I made all my friends. And interestingly enough, there was quite a few people that were on the boat by themselves. Men and female and
What
female.
cruise line did you go to?
Carnival.
Carnival.
Yeah.
But so one thing, so I'm an instigator, of course. So like the unlimited drinks is really like your 15 drinks. You get 15 drinks that are unlimited per day, right? So and then
My
they cut you
goodness.
off. You can't even buy drinks after that. So 15 drinks is a lot.
Yeah.
So I started we just started challenging people to get to 15. And so like one night I got the whole crew that was hanging out, like got them toast to where it affected their next day. I was the only one up. I was going to the gym every morning, like and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, for some reason my liver was killing it. But it wasn't like that for everybody.
Killing it for him?
Yeah, killing him.
Everyone else.
Yeah. So like people were like, yo, I can't drink today and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, we'll do it again tomorrow then.
You should have called him out. All right, punk.
Yeah, I met some really cool people that I'm still in touch with right now.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Baddies?
Yeah, I mean, there's cool on both sides, guys and girls.
Good. Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear that.
I met an NFL player that's currently playing in the NFL. Like we're still in touch and stuff like that.
Wow. So it's not Colin Kaepernick.
Nah, he's still playing.
It's not.
Still playing. But yeah, I had a great time. I actually recommend so it's kind of funny that you talked about baddies because my boy was asking me about my boy from Florida was asking me about cruising. I'm like, yo, there's a certain like type of woman that's gonna be on these cruises that are out there like having a good time on these cruises.
Yes.
It's different from like girls that you take straight to the islands or straight to like the taking a boat to a tropical destination girl is different from I'm going straight to the destination girl. So you gotta not necessarily, and I'm saying like all of them are great, but I'm just saying like there's a different
in age.
Not only just age, but also I would say monetary and expectation.
So you're saying Marcus Houston is not going on the boat?
It's possible.
I mean, there's families there.
Oh my God.
Yo, there's a lot of family reunions. There's a lot of teenagers on that boat. So yeah, Marcus Houston might have found his wife on a boat cruise line. Who knows?
So Harry Belafonte has passed away.
That's the segue you're going with?
There's no segue.
Okay. Okay.
Legendary. You know what's really crazy to me? The craziest thing is a lot of people go, somebody goes, Deo, right? And someone goes, he sang that song?
Yeah. I've seen him live. I've seen Harry Belafonte live. He came to Bakersfield. I saw him with my family at the Fox Theater. He's great. He was older, but yeah, I've seen him live, seen that song. He still knew how to rock the mic. It was great.
Man, I wish I could have seen him.
Yeah.
I have another regret. Before I left Florida, BB King came to my city.
Really?
And I didn't get a chance to see him.
Wow. But I didn't know at the time what an impactful person Harry Belafonte was.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously when he was coming up, what he did for civil rights, what he did as being, a black man in the industry, even though he's Caribbean, right?
No, he's from New York.
Is he but is his background Caribbean?
Yeah. Probably.
So, I didn't know the impact that he had, and obviously didn't know historically what a huge, character he was.
I think that song is an activist song. Deo, the Banana Boat song.
I think the finances from that song is the activist part. Yeah, because he funded a lot of the activism that was happening
from that kind of stuff.
From the music,
but he was an actor, singer, activist. Great soul, man.
Yeah,
well respected.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
100%.
I've never heard any kind of negativity or drama or surrounding him as far as like negative stuff. I don't know if I may not have done enough research, but. Because clearly you're smirking. A few things,
but
because clearly Kelby's smirking, but
we don't have to highlight that. Whatever, dude. Another legend has passed away, and his name is Gerald Springer, the former mayor of Cincinnati.
Jerry.
Talk about drama. What hasn't Jerry Springer done though, man? He's been passed a mayor. Away. He's a lawyer. He was a judge.
He did that already.
Yeah, well, that's the final act.
Yeah,
it's crazy to me, man. First of all, shout out to Google. Mainly because when you Google Jerry Springer's name, it just says mayor of Cincinnati, former mayor of Cincinnati.
Awesome.
And you would imagine it being like, talk show host or whatever, but
it's not the wrong Jerry Springer. That's him?
No. So he was in politics early on, and him joining the media game and becoming the Jerry Springer, I'm sick, I'm gonna stay home and watch TV guy.
Yeah,
right.
Maury.
Yeah.
Judge Judy.
But
they did it.
Wasn't Jerry the first person to get into the salacious TV?
He probably, he revolutionized salacious television.
Right.
We're here because of Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe society is in where we're at right now because of Jerry.
Yeah.
Good or bad, right?
Good
or bad. That's one of the debates that has come up. Is like, was he good for society? Right.
But here's the thing: society is not developed on a television show; it's just mirrored.
It could be influenced heavily, and we've seen that through the media. I disagree with that. I think that a lot of society is influenced and created through television in Hollywood.
Yes,
I don't think it's
true.
mirrored.
That is true-ish, but at the time, you're thinking about social media era. I'm thinking about, did Jerry create these people? No, he just found hillbillies and little people and said, "Go fight."
Fake, bro.
Of course it is.
Yes, I don't know.
It's television.
Yeah, but he enhanced it and created the storylines, bro. He maybe there's like a little bit, but he put a microscope on it and then was like embellished a lot to create it to be what it is.
So do you think that Jerry Springer is a bad man?
I don't know bad and good, I think is relative. Like to me, I think he put the content out there, and the fact that society ate it up, I don't think that's Jerry Springer's fault. Like if he did all this stuff and nobody was into it, then he would have changed. But the fact that everybody got into it, that's not Jerry's fault. Like, so I don't blame him per se. I blame, us as a society for being degenerates.
I don't believe that society was not as crazy as it was before Jerry Springer. I don't believe that they.
You think it's crazier then than it is now? You think it's the same?
I think society has been completely insane since the days of Babylon.
Wow,
that would be
a long time.
OG.
But if you think about it, I say that because. If you think biblically, right? Yeah. There was the places that were torn down because they were doing the wildest stuff, right?
Like the brothels?
Like Sodom.
No, thank you. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, we're going biblical.
Right. Yeah, okay. Sodom and Gomorrah. I read the book. They were doing they're doing all the worst things, Sodom and Gomorrah. But then if you think about it earlier than that, what happens? Anybody know?
Nah, man, you talking to
earlier than Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah, earlier.
Obviously, there was a wild rave on the ark.
Bingo. There was a wild rave on the ark. And the ark only existed because God was like, yo, this thing is trash. Let's try it again.
Let's redo.
Right? And so it's like, how can we really think that society was perfect, or not perfect, but less salacious at a specific point in time when the Romans were doing crazy stuff, the French were doing crazy stuff. So there's Sodom and Gomorrah that existed. If you just read the Bible, it's crazier than anything you can think of. It's just like, I think Jerry was just the one who was like, yo, we should put this on camera, yo. This is crazy.
Maybe. I definitely think that society is dwindling down more and is worse now than it was 50 years ago.
I think there's the realization that it's worse now.
Yeah.
It's worse than you thought it was.
I think morality is different now. What is right and wrong to certain people are different now than what was right and wrong.
Okay, let's get into this. How is that possible if prostitution revolutionized the West?
Yeah, but that's only one aspect.
What aspect?
Like, so prostitution has been around forever, right? So that's what they say was the oldest profession in the world, right? But that aspect is there, but I don't think that necessarily means that, okay, because this one thing was there forever means that things haven't gotten worse since then.
Why?
because I just think that there's different things. Like back in the for example, and certain things I think that never would have been considered a possibility are starting to become possibilities now.
Things like what?
Pedophilia.
Nope, not new.
The fact that people are saying that you shouldn't judge somebody that's pedophilia.
There's nothing new about that.
I think there's been people that have in other cultures that are like that used to. I mean, my grandmother got married at 13 to somebody who was like 26, 28, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then society got to a certain point to realize that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's trying to go back to, hey, that's, it should be all right.
So what you're saying is the world operates in a more cyclical cycle than you recognize.
Maybe it's recognition, but I think that, there was a enlightenment that happened, whether it be through religion, whether it be through, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then it's the degradation is happening again. If that's cyclical and I just didn't know it, maybe, but I can only go off of where the lifetime that I've been on the planet.
That's interesting. Cyclical, because it was like wild, and then obviously the Bible was like, hey, and then God showed up, and then people started believing in God, and it was this whole thing, and then it got a little too far extreme.
Bingo.
Where it was like, no, you can't even blink because the Lord is coming at you, and for $49.99 you just buy my book, you'll be good. Thank you, Mr. Olstein. But then it was like, now kids nowadays are like, I don't want to believe in God. I don't want to deal with this religion thing. That's too tight. That's too conforming. That's too whatever. And now it's going back the other way on the dial.
There you go.
But that's only in the West, though.
Eating Tide Pods and
no, it's not.
Nah, I mean, if you go to more cultural societies that aren't as influenced on the West, it's still like back in the day.
I don't believe that.
Well, when's the last time you've been to Middle East?
So I have never been to the Middle East.
When's the last time you've been to India?
However, what I will say is, if you follow economic trends, you can learn a lot about what has changed in different countries. So if we talk about a country like, let me be careful about what I say. Certain countries that adopted capitalism within the last 30 years, you'll recognize what free market does to the ideology and the culture of those countries in a very short period of time. And then you can find either tumultuous change, or you can find positive change. You can find negative change. There's enough information that says that influence does travel. Even China is not as communist as it once was. And you can learn that through an economic realization of what has happened in the last 50 years. China should be the number one country that you go, oh, they've been the same for a long time, because we have so much information about China and how much they don't change, but they do. They just maybe change
what's
a little
culturally
slower.
different in China than, like, what's different about, like when we're talking about degradation, what has changed there that wasn't there before? Like, as far as what could you point to?
The influence of the West.
But but influence of the West can mean now they use toilets instead of a hole in the thing. But that's not what we're talking. We're talking about cultural influence.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about Asian countries, what do they lean upon to develop their country? Black American media. They adopt a lot of Black American ideas. They adopt a lot of Black American music, clothing, a lot of these things. There is nothing on earth that remains stagnant. There's nothing.
But you're still not pointing to something that, when we're talking about like that, their values have changed.
Their values have changed.
You name an example.
Well, okay. let's say the aspect of communism, the fact that they strictly believe in their one leader and what they can offer to the world, same as the USSR.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who do believe in that still, and then culturally they change. That is one of the reasons why the USSR collapsed, because the next generation did not believe in the same cultural values as the one before that.
So in China, they're still communist.
They are under the communist name, but are they economically communist? 100% no.
Well, they are, because
They're
every
not.
single business is part of the government.
That doesn't mean that there's not access to free markets, which there is more now than ever, because that is what developed their economy. Do you ever wonder why China was one of the poorest places when we were kids, and then now all of a sudden they have this booming economy?
No, I think that they learned how to hustle the system, but it still goes through the government. They're just investing, and they're investing in other countries and using other people's resources to build their own. But they still have their same morals and values as far as how they do. They still have.
So you think that China has the same culture from 100 years ago?
No, but what I'm saying is, if you go to the average Chinese person, their beliefs about right and wrong are going to be more similar to back in the day than an American's beliefs of right and wrong versus the same time frame.
So we're saying
American.
the same thing. Whether it's similar or the same, it is not one or the other.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's going to be exact. What I'm saying is the level of quote unquote degradation is going to be different in different society. I think in the West, we try to say, oh, well, whatever's cool here is how the rest of the world is thinking, but it's not like that. Like, the certain arguments and debates that happen in the West are not the same debates that are happening in Africa, that are happening in India, that are happening in even Russia and stuff like that. And you're starting to see that, like, more of these countries are coming out. You see these African countries that are talking about, US, you guys are worried about this, and this, but we're not worried about that here. We're just focused on.
Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a country in Africa that has to make a law that says if you identify as a thingamajig, then we can potentially sentence you to death. If nobody worried about that, what would be the point in making the law?
I don't think that's a new law. I think it's just being publicized now.
Why?
It was always a law for them, but the West is saying, why are these laws happening? Like, why do you have this law in the books? And they're like, why would we change something that's always been a part of our society?
It's not a response to the United States.
It's not the people of that country saying that we should change this law either.
I'm saying
they didn't make a law. That was always there. That's what I'm trying to say, is like, these other cultures already had their stuff in. It's the West that are doing interviews like with their politicians that are saying, well, why is this human thing not like this? Or why is your culture not like this? Or why do you guys have these type of laws? That's the West trying to change what other cultures are thinking about.
I don't really think that that's fair to say. I think that, yes, there's changes that happen here, but to believe that the rest of the world is their ice is melting differently than ours is just like, what?
But you're talking very like abstract, and I'm going straight to like a certain point. Like,
you brought up
the law. That law has always been on the books. It's being publicized now because they were doing like interviews with different BBC and all these kind of things, and now, because the West is really focused on certain aspects, right? We know that they're asking these questions and they're defending that, hey, that's not something that we believe in.
So my question is that a response to us?
Yes.
No.
That question would have never been, they've had those interviews for years. Those questions weren't brought up before, but now the West is focused on certain things. So those things are being brought up in every single conversation.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Well, I say that respectfully, because I can't imagine being the ruler of a country and being like, we're going to highlight something here that already exist as a response to another country that has nothing to do with us.
They're not.
And it's also not something that we, the people, worry about. So if it's not something that people are worrying about, then what's the point in bringing it up?
They're not bringing it up. That's what I don't understand what you're talking about.
They are bringing it up.
They're not coming out and saying this is what we are. There was an interview that was done with some of these African politicians, presidents. The question that was asked by the BBC was, hey, now that you're president, are you going to change this law? They didn't bring it up. That was the BBC asked them. So they answered. So how is that?
This is different than what I got, the information I got.
Okay.
And it was they are making a law about it. And what I saw was their leader saying, if you identify as this, you could be subject to death. I didn't see the BBC thing. I saw a new thing.
All of that has already been on the books. It's not new laws that are being created. People are asking because there's new regimes coming in. Are you going to continue the same policies from the previous regime?
So here's the real question then. Do you think that none of that exists in their country and it's not something that is affecting their people? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I don't think it's the same. And the reason why I know is because I've been to India and I go to India and I know how different it is, the conversations that were in the West at the same time.
The conversation is not what I'm talking about.
So the conversations, how it's affecting all that the things that other countries are worried about are not the same as what our country worries about. And I know that factually because I still have connections to people in all of these different countries. And I asked them, dude, are you guys dealing with they're like, what are you, your country's crazy now, bro. The type of conversation and all that kind of stuff. I can't believe the stuff that you guys are talking about over there. So yeah, I do think it's different. And I think that it's naive to think that just because it's happening here, that it's happening elsewhere. That's what I think is one of the primary problems with this country is thinking that just because it's here that everybody feels the same way, and it's not accurate. We have that narcissism.
I don't believe.
You're saying belief. You're saying all these things. You're not talking about actual fact. This is how you feel.
But this is what I'm going to tell you. I think that a lot of people operate in a sense of I know 10 people in one region and they say this one thing, so it must be true. And he has 1 billion people. Sure. So what I'm asking you is not so much as what are people saying. I'm just saying there's no way that the West has this growing thing and it's nowhere else. Nobody else is talking about it. It's impossible. It is impossible.
But of course there's going to be people talking about it. But what I'm saying is the thrust or what's most important to certain cultures or how even those conversations are going in different cultures are different than what they are here. It starts in the West. Can it influence other cultures? Sure. But is it innately coming from within that country? If the West wasn't there and there was no TV and there was no this and there was no that, would there be those same conversations based off of what's going on in that culture and society and all that kind of stuff? I would say there wouldn't be. Yeah, now everybody has the internet. So if there's certain aspects to a thing that are oh, well, I believe in that too, or because these people are saying it's cool, so let me start creating a ruckus about it here. But I'm saying innately, the same debates that happen in different countries are not the same debates that happen in the U.S.
Okay.
Based off of because societies are built off of different morals and values. The morals and values of India, the morals and values of the Middle East are much different from the morals and values of the U.S.
Right. But okay, let's say historically, we know that there are parts of Europe that are more sexually liberated than the United States.
Sure.
We know that Roman people had a lot of homosexuality.
Sure.
How is it all of a sudden now
all of those countries are considered the West. Europe is considered the West too.
Okay, so let's go even more east then.
Yeah.
So let's think about Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of an obvious one. What's Thailand known for?
Tourist-wise?
Yeah.
The red light district.
Yeah, and then also what? What else? Lady boys?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's even that in India.
Okay, so that's the point I'm
to be referred to.
I'm sorry, but I'm just saying like the popular terminology that I don't know I'm sorry, I don't know the right term, but I'm just saying I can't even wrap that around my mind that it's just like this damn country, it's just going down to it and nobody out. It's just
you're talking, but the way that it's framed in, so I can't speak to Thailand because I know for in India, we call them chakkas. They're half man, half women. They're born hermaphrodites, right?
Okay.
Intersex or whatever it's called there. There's not this, like they're known for a specific thing and they're known to have some kind of like, mystic powers and things like that. Like in culture, they're looked to that way. There's not this movement of people saying I'm born in the wrong body. So it's different. Does that exist? Yes. Is there the government trying to give rights or trying to say children should be doing this and children should be doing that? That's where I'm saying is completely different. Those conversations aren't happening. There's not even the thought of that kind of stuff that's going on like here in the West and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying is different. Yeah, all of this stuff exists. Nobody's trying to act like it doesn't exist in other countries. How those conversations are being framed, what kind of debates are happening from is absolutely different.
So the only thing I can say to that is I think we're all first generation. I think that in my home country, a long time ago, if somebody came out as X, Y, and Z, they would be killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the conversation in other countries could just be framed differently. Other types of people do exist now, and before they might have been killed, and now they're just like, this is just something we don't talk about. That is a huge difference from killing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's the only point I'm making. I'm just saying that what you're saying is there's this extreme difference where, to me, the difference is not so extreme. It's just different. And over time, things do change. It's the constant thing that always happens. So I'm just saying, to me, it doesn't make sense to just say that it's only happening here when that's not true.
Yeah, but that's where I think you were just talking about levels.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm talking about there's a distinct difference between what's going on in the U.S. and what's going on in other countries. I will argue that because, like I said, there's people from other countries that are saying, you guys are crazy in the U.S. for what you guys are focused on, and that's like rampant now. Where different like politicians from other countries are like, you guys are focused on all this stuff in your country, we're not worried about that. That's like never happened before either. So yeah, I think that there's this level of feeling that like certain things that are happening in the US means it's happening everywhere else, and it's not true. Or the West in general, because I think Europe is very similar, Canada, all that kind of stuff. Even when I went to Mexico, it's a completely different vibe than what's going on in the streets out here. Even though there's all that danger and there's gangs and, but, you talk to a regular person and it's different.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably go around in circles with this, but yeah, I just, I get your point. I guess maybe I have to do some more traveling. But anyways, Jerry Springer passed away. Rest in peace, Jerry Springer. Rest in peace, Harry Belafonte. There's also the lady who accused Emmett Till of whistling at her. Mm-hmm. She's passed away as well. She doesn't have to rest in peace.
Nah.
Nah. Yeah. She lived to like 88 years old.
Yeah, I hope she's tormented.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Okay, Biden has announced his reelection.
Whew. Chris?
Well,
how we feel about this?
It's just going to be 20... When was the last election?
2020.
It's going to be 2020 all over again.
Man.
Here we go.
Man.
And we saw it with Trump's bird graveyard speech for the second time. You want to go to a bird cemetery? Go to a windmill. It's rampant. I never understood wind.
How do you feel, Sunil?
I was talking to Chris about this before we started recording. It shows how unserious our election process is that we're going to have Biden and Trump, most likely. Like, that's what most people are thinking is going to be the 2024 election. Like, of the billions of people that are in the US, those are the two that we have as choices to be able to run our country. It shows how corrupt our system is.
Why do you say that?
Because there's so many better choices that,
cool.
I mean, probably the president of the local chapter of something is probably better than Biden and Trump. I'm talking about like, just like as far as just, it's so hard and it's so not unattainable, but like the people who should be running the country, it's not appealing to them to actually do it because of all of the stuff BS you have to go through to be a politician in this country. Like, I just think that if it's in those two people's hands, like, it doesn't even make me excited about voting for anybody. It's just gonna be chaos again.
What do you think, sir?
You're excited about Biden versus Trump as far as your choices and who you want to vote for?
I think it's interesting that the DNC they're not going to have, what was it, debates?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a shoo-in, right?
Yeah,
it's a shoo-in for Joe Biden. My response to like who's running the country, I kind of don't think the persons in front of us are so spectacular when we're like really thinking about it. And I think we kind of get lost in that spectacle of like,
when you mean
1 second. I think we get lost in the idea of like, oh my gosh, not these people, right? But then imagine if it was just another person, right? It was just another person that comes up. And why is that other person a better decision? So I think there has been hard lessons learned since politics has become more of a general theatrical conversation amongst people. And with that being said, it's elevated to this platform where everybody knows what's happening almost all the time. There's like too much transparency, even though there's not enough transparency. So if you go back and you're like, okay, let me think about the quality of life that I've had in these specific terms, you can kind of parse out how quickly things change depending on what's important to you. So if you think about life under Bush, then you think about life under Obama, then you think about life under Trump, and you think about life under Biden. There's very specific things that you really remember. And for me, when it was life under Bush, I remember war, right? I just remember war. And then when it's life under Obama, I remember the collapse, right? Like financial collapse. And then when it's Trump, I just remember like hysteria, right? Like everybody's going crazy. And then the political aspects of it kind of got thrown away. But then I'm old enough now to recognize my life in an economic sense. So now I'm like, well, at least I'm making a little bit more money, but the world around me seems like it's blowing up and it's fiery. And now that I'm a little bit older and Biden's president now, what's the thing that affects me most? Okay, the thing that I'm thinking about most is how can I buy a house? How can I elevate my game? And why is it so much harder? Why does it seem unattainable? These are the things that I'm more paying attention to. So do I really care if there is a specific name that runs, if they're 80 years old, if they're 90 years old, if they're 20 years old? I don't really care that much. I really do think that if a 180-year-old person came through and had the ideas that said, look, these are all the things that you have experienced in life. Most of them are negative. I just want to develop a strategy for you to have a better, easier, happier life. I would just take it. and I don't want to get lost in the like, not Joe. Joe has nothing to do with it. Joe's ideas have everything to do with it. You know what I mean?
I think that's what we're arguing.
That's what we're talking about. What did you think
his
we were
ideals
talking
are both of their ideals are probably, I don't know, not healthy. You know?
Well,
that's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about like the people. I'm talking about that Joe Biden, his whole career has been politics.
Right.
So for me, like, so this one thing that I give Trump over Biden or these career politicians is at least he's done something outside of and created something outside of politics. So for me, there's some value to that. Being able to have a successful business, being able to run a successful business, all this stuff with, what's it called? The Apprentice and all those types of things. Stuff I don't like about Trump is obviously the narcissism and, you know, the way that he creates just more chaos type of stuff, right? So that I think that also, because it just creates a society where I think it's not him that created it, but it's brought it to the forefront where you just saw how the media went against them, and then all of a sudden the media just started lying just to prove a point, which I think is horrible. Now they might have always done that, right? But it just came more to light during when Trump was president and all that kind of stuff. You start seeing just normal people going at arms about stuff like you mentioned that doesn't really even matter, right? Like that isn't necessarily affecting us on a like day-to-day basis, but just because it's in the atmosphere, people are just like friendships are lost, family members are put against each other. Like just the whole like us versus them mentality, I think got enhanced to a certain extent under the Trump regime. Whether it was Trump that created that or the response to Trump that created that, the lightning rod was Trump, right? Not saying that I agree with a lot of the policies that Trump put in. I think that as a president, like how he ran things, I would say is better than how it's being run right now. But I also would like somebody that maybe has similar policies to Trump that isn't Trump to be able to run, because I just think there's so much baggage with Trump that makes it hard to just look at it based off of. I don't think people focus on the policies, unfortunately, when it comes to Trump.
That was my point. That's my exact point. Mm-hmm. I think that that there's so much of a spectacle about who these people are that, I mean, none of that stuff really affects
just distracts.
you. Yeah, that's my exact point.
Right.
I'm just saying that when I hear people, I was reading comments of people who, like, when he said that he wanted to run again, it was like nothing about the direct impact on them. Mm-hmm. It was just like, oh, he's so old, or like whatever. And it's just kind of like,
you talking about Biden?
Yeah. You know, and I just wish that it wasn't that, because unfortunately you feel it more and more and more and more the more you desire out of life, you know, what these people actually do and their plans and all that stuff.
But most voters are uneducated. Most voters aren't doing their research, right? That's why the way that politicians market is based off of emotion. They're going off of feeling. Like most people feel, oh, I just feel like he's the better, you know, or you know, Democrats are really good at marketing themselves and creating a different lane where people think that, hey, you just vote Democrat no matter what. Just like the Republicans, they have a certain base. They just keep marketing towards that base because they'll just vote Republican no matter what. Mm-hmm. There's a very small portion of the U.S. that's actually thinking for themselves and doing their own research and all that kind of stuff. But when I'm talking about there's better people out there, I'm talking about better solutions. Mm-hmm. So that's what I meant. Like,
what's something that you really want a solution for?
I like the people that their solutions are less government. Those are the type of people. So like, for example, somebody that I wish became president that never became president was Ron Paul. I felt like his policies and the stuff that he was promoting when everybody thought he was just a quack and he was just crazy and all that kind of stuff, if we would have listened to him and we would have gave him power over being able to maybe shape the narrative about what U.S. and U.S. government should be, I think we would have been in a better place.
Can you give me an idea that he has that you like?
So his views on foreign policy, saying that we shouldn't get involved in stuff that doesn't have anything to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
The police state of the U.S., where we just kind of go in there and do all these regime changes and all that kind of stuff. His focus was like, no, we got to take care of home base first. All that money we're putting into the military and sending overseas to do all this kind of stuff, use that finances to create solutions here in the U.S. for our people.
What's something that you want in the next term?
I guess it is related to economy, just more looking out for homeless people. Mm-hmm. Kind of a big thing, but I guess that's technically related to the economy.
And I think one thing that you always mention, obviously, if it affects home base, is like how teachers are treated in this country.
Yes, I think public education needs support. The people that work in public education need more support than they're getting. And that's not talking about superintendents or higher ups that get all the checks. I'm talking about people on the ground, teachers and all this stuff. Now, is that really a government thing versus a state thing? I don't know. But
it's a union thing.
Oh, don't even get me started. But, yeah, that's more like what I'm.
But I do think that who's in charge greatly affects the like what the narrative of the country is going to be. Mm-hmm. And what's something that you think is extremely important that you would?
The way that I look at almost everything is if people have the opportunity to be economically sound, most problems will go away.
Sure.
Yep.
That's just how I see things. Because on average, if people are poor, then they're unstable.
Yeah.
Once they're unstable, they have every opportunity to tear themselves down. And when you tear yourself down, you have every opportunity to tear other people down. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing in life is creating opportunities for we the people to be safe economically, to be able to purchase homes, to be able to grow businesses, to be able to fulfill our dreams, and then also develop something for the next generation as well.
Yeah.
Behind us. I don't necessarily totally believe that it is fair for us to want to have to expect a lot of the things to come from the government. I think if they can give us the opportunity to be as successful as we want to be, we can take care of ourselves and we can take care of each other.
Yeah, I think that for me, I think a lot of people feel like the government should be taking like pressure off of people. I don't necessarily think pressure is a bad thing. I think pressure forces you to start doing things for yourself. But I do think that there should be less stress. There's certain things that the government that could do to take stress away from people, because I agree with you. When people are stressed, they're not thinking clearly. And when people aren't thinking clearly, that's when desperation happens. That's where a lot of negative things could spawn from that. So I don't think that the government should just make your life super easy, because then you're not going to do anything. You're not going to amount to anything. But there are certain things that I think should be reformed. Education system, I think healthcare, like there should be these things that are made easier and less stressful for people in society, to make it, like you said, more realistic or more opportunity for people to flourish. Like there should be a certain ground floor that I think if you're a U.S. citizen or whatever, or in that whatever, like you're never going to be less than this. You should be able to live somewhere. You should be able to, if you're sick, be taken care of, and you should be able to have food, right? I think those are inalienable things that our country should be able to like take care of those things. Mm. Now, does that mean like I know I have somebody that works with the homeless population, and she's able to get people housing, and they're like, no, I need to be closer to the beach, not in the city kind of thing. Like, all right, like, nah, this isn't like you're going to be able to just pick and choose where you live. Right. But like, you should be able to, like, certain basics, necessities should be taken care of in a country like this. I think that a lot of the reason why that hasn't happened is because we're not focused on us as much. They just sent trillions of dollars or billions of dollars to Ukraine to help them cover their retirement when there's like people here that can't pay for rent or can't like are homeless, can't eat, don't have proper health care, all that kind of stuff. To me, that's a lack of leadership type thing, because those conversations aren't even happening. Our president's just like, nah, that's what we should be doing. It's like, nah, I want somebody that's like, you know what? Maybe if we could send this money over there, we should probably take this money and send it, because where was I yesterday? I went to Woodland Hills to a restaurant out there. Woodland Hills, I thought was super nice, right? Like I compared to in the valley, right?
Where's Woodland Hills? Woodland Hills is
it's next to Eagle Rock. Sorry, not Eagle Rock.
No, that's east.
It's
No,
south.
I'm sorry,
It's south, but it's like Woodland Hills,
like the next to the Tarzana Mall.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But Woodland Hills, you think of like people there have money and stuff like that. The houses there are more expensive, all that kind of stuff. So I went to Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
Okay,
It's
big
by
money.
the Woodland. It's by the Woodland Hills Mall. The Woodland Hills Mall is abandoned. There's nothing there. There's a Ruth Chris right there, which is obviously a super nice restaurant in a parking lot that looks like it's about to be demolished. Across the street from Ruth Chris were about 10 to 15 tents.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, this is crazy. You're going to a place which is like minimum for two people. I think bill with tip and everything was like $250, right? So $250 across the street is homelessness. That is incredible that that's possible in a country like this.
I find it really hard to blame government for that. And I think that something else that I would love a future leader to offer is a sense of hope. And I say that mainly because I really feel like people don't think that they're offering anything to the world. And it makes me sad when all I hear is people wanting to live a life that's just
YOLO.
like chilling, like I just want to go on vacation.
Yeah.
I just want to travel. I just want to. But it's like, I wish that there was more of a sense of like, dude, if we just do all of this together, you don't understand what it takes to make a pencil. Okay. And I say that because there's a study that showcases like where everything comes from to make this one pencil. And you may think that your stop on the bus is like not important, but it is. And a desire to like want to do more. There's this kind of negative feeling that it's all going down. It's a downhill thing. And, we got to break the whole thing and destroy it, but I kind of want to have somebody who's going to be like, look, the future is not grim. It's bright, but it's going to take all of us to operate at our finest together, to desire more, to want more, to want to put that effort in, and not just want to do anything, but really find a passion and serve that. And then you'll be more surprised at how many people around you it positively affects than you wanting to just bow out and tap out.
Sure.
That's another thing that I would want from.
Yeah, I think it would change just the mentality if they felt like purpose and value, right? Like, if you feel like there's a reason for you to be here, then you're more motivated to do things. When you don't feel like anything matters, you're less motivated, right? But I think there's a lot of things that go into that.
Well, on our last topic today, we can either talk about Steve Harvey, male enhancement, polyamorous people, or
that's not one sentence.
Steve
Harvey get a male enhancer?
I mean, a long time ago.
This is the mustache.
Or Chris Brown versus Usher.
What are we at right now, time wise?
54.
Let's do the Steve Harvey one.
Okay, give it to me.
All right, so Steve Harvey was on Uncle Shay Shay's. So it's a podcast. So he was being interviewed, and
whatever
I think,
it is.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's Shannon Sharp's podcast. So he was asked, I don't know what the question was, I just saw the clip, but Steve Harvey said that the problem with young men now is that they're too focused on what women bring to the table, and that men shouldn't be worried about what women bring to the table. They're able to give birth to children, so it doesn't matter what they bring to the table because they're able to do that. Men should be worried about themselves and what they could provide for the woman before they focus on what women could bring to the table. It doesn't matter what women could bring to the table. And I'm paraphrasing, but that was summing up what he said.
I'm very interested into what you think.
Why me?
I don't know. I'm just interested. Because you're an interesting fellow.
You just never know what I'm going to say.
Exactly.
Sunil, you first. Go ahead.
Well, I think that there's truth to it. You know what I mean? I do think that whenever it comes to a relationship, the man should always focus on what he could, like, is his ducks in order before he starts demanding other things. Like, are you able to provide? Are you able to, have you done everything you need to do to put yourself in a position to be able to create the life that you want to have? However, do I think that means the woman that I'm going to be with doesn't have to bring anything to the table? No. Like, I'm not here. I want someone that's going to be able to be of value to the vision. Hopefully the vision is the same for me and my partner, type of thing. But bringing to the table doesn't mean how much money you're bringing or how much, materialistic stuff you bring, but support. Are you making my life easier? Are you making it more stressful, more difficult? If I am emotionally needing something, are you able to, fill that void or help me through certain situations, stuff like that? I think all that stuff is important. To think that just any woman could be is going to be all right as long as I could take care of all the bills and all that kind of stuff, I think is naive. So yeah, I don't think that women could just go through this world feeling like they don't have to work on themselves. They could just, any woman should be able to get any man, because the men shouldn't worry about what. I think it's naive to think that men shouldn't have standards. Is all I'm saying. And from that conversation, it seemed like Steve Harvey was saying, "Man, you shouldn't have any standards. You should be able to just handle any type of situation." And I think that's bad advice. And you're smirking, so I can't wait to hear what Kelby has to say.
Well, what's the value of a woman that can't bear kids?
So you're saying Steve Harvey may have minimized the value of a woman to just being a birthing person?
Yeah. I mean, right?
I mean, that's what, in your context, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Right?
And the way that you reworded
the way you maneuvered that.
That's what it sounds like.
That's kind of what he said, though, because he said, because they can bear kids,
right?
They don't have to do anything else. The rest is on you. But what happens if they can't bear kids? So is that another man?
I don't think that was the focus, though. I think the focus was, you need to work on yourself before you can start expecting so much from others. I think that was.
What is the so much?
What do you mean?
What is the so much that you can expect from others? What is it?
I don't know, whatever he was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. He made his point. It's because they can bear kids.
Right.
That's her job.
Sure.
So if her job is bearing kids, your job is paying for it. But it's never that simple. If you think about the point of the whole topic, like, what do you bring to the table, right? Why is that even a phrase? Well, what you bring to the table is like, okay, when you're by yourself, we as men, right? Probably as young men, we eat terribly, right? We eat terribly. If I'm going to just turn it into a real, real tangible thing, we can eat crap all the time, right? But then we meet somebody else who fulfills us, right? And then all of a sudden we learn new things. They fulfill us. They change how we see the world. They add in parts to us that we didn't totally understand. So now the meal has actually changed. Like now you're eating greens and veggies and all these things, right?
Steak and chicken.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Seasoned.
Because you're just like, oh, wow, this health conscious person is in my life now.
Just peanut butter jelly.
Right. I was just living
just quesadillas.
Right. Quesadillas. So you'd be like, you know, I was eating Captain Crunch for 25 years of my life. And then all of a sudden somebody comes in and they change the meal. Right. So I'm not here to diminish the value that another person has to bring to this table to diversify my meal, to complete me as a person. What he's saying is too simple. This is a guy who's on his like 5th marriage.
Right.
Okay. That is not the value of a woman, to just be here and just, hey man, I can have your babies. You go out there and bring the bacon.
Right.
It's stupid. It's dumb. And it's a testament to why you may be financially okay, but your situation is in shatters, bro. And mainly you probably found somebody who can handle that, who can handle you at whatever that is.
Or settle.
Yeah. Or they're just satisfied. Like, okay, he thinks that way. At least he makes $100 million. Right. And that's fine. I can handle that. But we're in an age where we've reformed how we can think. And if I'm looking for a woman, I'm not looking for somebody who has the best uterus. Like, yeah, that's great. But that's such a small piece of what somebody can do to fulfill you as a man. If you need somebody who can help you financially, then that's that situation. If you need somebody who can help you emotionally, that's that situation. If you can get somebody who can help you on both, now all of a sudden we're having a whole different conversation. I just think it's super primal. It's like a primate thinking, like an animal that just thinks like, oh, they only have this one purpose. No, are they allowed to speak? You know what I mean? It's just silly.
You want to know, like, you sparked something, and I'm glad you went off like that, because if I was so I think most people would look at that and maybe think that men got offended or like, but if I'm a woman, I would look at that and feel offended, not only for what you said, but also like, why would I want to be, it wouldn't attract me or wouldn't excite me to be with somebody that doesn't have any expectations of me. And what I mean by that is like, if anybody could fill this role, then I don't want it.
Yeah.
Right? Then what's the value of that? I would much rather feel like, and that even coming from a male perspective, like whoever I end up with, I would hope that anybody couldn't be in my role. Like, you're not going to just marry anybody. You're going to marry somebody that you feel like is the epitome of what you're looking for. And the only way you could be the epitome of something is if you have standards, or if you're bringing something to the table that is better than anybody else that has brought anything to that same table. I like the shit that you put on this table, and it's better than, and it's not nothing. Nobody can bring anything else to this table that's better than the stuff you're bringing. Isn't that the type of relationship everybody wants to be in? Or do they want to be in the type of relationship where it's like, it doesn't matter because I brought everything on this table, so it doesn't matter what you bring to the table because it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
I don't think any woman wants to not matter. Like, any girl could be here as long as whatever. And I agree with you. Steve Harvey, you stupid for that one, bro.
It was very quick that we were like, well, he said that. And then everyone was like, fuck you, man.
Yeah. I already thought it was stupid, but I was only thinking from my perspective as a man. But when you bring the woman's perspective, I'm even more offended. Steve Harvey, I'm offended for all
human beings.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
I would love to work with you, Steve.
No. I don't know. You said some questionable things too.
Kelby out here for the dollars. You know, Kelby always gonna take it to some capitalism.
Right.
I mean, look,
Kelby ain't into burning bridges.
Yeah.
He might undo some nails of that bridge, but he gonna make sure the stability is still there.
I do think that Steve Harvey does have good thoughts here and there, but that old man way of thinking,
that's very, very antiquated.
Yeah, you know, that's that. When I get home, have my steak ready for me.
I do like what you said. That why do we have the phrase "bring it to the table"? It's very much. It's a communal thing. That's what a relationship is. It's a relationship. There's two people coming together and working together. I'm a product of a single mother who is one of 5 sisters who, for the majority, all had to raise their kids by themselves with their own jobs, with their own this, where there was not a lot of support. That's not a relationship.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. You know what I mean? Like, that's very antiquated thinking. Oh, I'm only here to have the kid.
Yeah.
You do everything else. Well, the man didn't do everything else in this situation. You know what I mean? You know? So it's like...
And if you thread the needle even more, imagine being the dad that is just like, I'm only here to put the food on the table.
Hey, get out of here.
I'm not taking care of the kids. I'm not changing their diaper. It's like, you know, it's just old, animalistic, silly talk that's made for us to have a comment about it.
Yeah.
But
and
like,
I mean, I wouldn't take it to the extreme because I think there are certain relationships that work very, very well. Now, is it all like 100% the woman, 0% the man? I think that's like extreme. And I'm sure there's situations that are like that. Like I come from my parents, my mom did probably most of the quote unquote raising because my dad was working, but my dad played a huge role in bringing me up and all that kind of stuff. But my mom's role in the house was cooking, cleaning, taking care of us, taking us to school, taking us to all the sports events, all that kind of stuff. And I know even right now, you know, some of my best friends in their marriages, it's very much homemaker, brings home the bacon. But when it says bring to the table, I think that term, if it's only talking about materialistic things, that's when it's wrong.
Yeah.
But there's so much value that can't necessarily be necessarily dollar signs are attached to it.
It can be quantified.
Quantified, exactly. That's a better way. But that should be on the table as well. Emotional support, like being able to come home from a bad day and your wife isn't out there like making your life harder, is like, yo, let's talk about it. Let me be your cheerleader sometimes. Sometimes you got to be the whip. Sometimes you the cheer. Like knowing how to...
What you mean by whip?
You know, a little bit of like, just like get your ass up and be you. Okay. I know you was thinking a little sexual with your nasty freak.
No, I was thinking about slavery.
I was thinking sexual.
Well, I'm glad all genres are taken care of when we hear a whip.
All represented.
We got sexual. We got obviously the worst part of society type of stuff. And yeah, but you know, I think all relationships can work as long as both people are on the same page, same vision. I think vision is very important.
So last week, we're going to end in a second, but last week we spoke about being 40.
Wow.
And single and having a pact with somebody and saying, you know, if we're both 40 and single, will we get married? Number one, have you ever done that?
Of course.
How many of those do you have in rotation currently signed contracts?
I don't even remember because so I was thinking about this on my own without like before I even saw that you guys were talking about it, and I was just like, dang, I was like in bed. And I was just like, man, I used to back in the day have all these pacts with different people. Like once you hit 40, you know, you do it as a joke. It was never serious. Well, in November, I'm turning 40 and I'm not married or anything like that. So I'm like, dang. So everybody in my high school that were making all these packs, like it's time to cash out pretty soon. Like this is the year people could cash in on that stuff. Like everybody's turning 40 in my graduating class or that went to high school with me. And I was just like, dang, we used to say that as a joke because nobody really expected to ever be at that age and single. And I'm like, dang, I'm about to be that age and single. And I don't remember anybody I had the pack with.
Not a single person.
Maybe like one or two, maybe, but like they're married. So,
okay, so pack is broken.
Yeah. So like they, you know, you can't cash in on that.
No, you can't. So
but anybody, you know, Foothill High School class of 2001.
Anybody remember?
Yeah. I mean, even if we didn't make it, you know, like, just know. Your boy's doing his part is all I'm trying to say.
Would you cash in on it at all? Like somebody from Foothill, you know, 2001, they're just like, yo, Sunil, I'm here.
With arms wide open.
My Kelby question is, what she look like?
See, there you go.
What she bringing to the table?
Oh no. He's transforming as we speak.
thanks for listening to this episode. We had a really good time.
Yes, we did.
We'll be back next week on this episode of NPR. Just kidding.
You spelled MOI wrong.
Yeah. It's the Men on the Internet podcast. Thanks for listening. Goodbye. Actually, wait. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like this video. Drop a comment. I don't care what it says. I will respond to you. I promise. If you're listening to this clip on Instagram or something like that, please like it. Leave a comment. It's going to help us. It'll help the podcast grow. It'll help us get cool guests on here and all that kind of stuff. So if you love the podcast, show us some love. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you saw, please make sure to subscribe to us on Instagram at MOI Podcast. And please check us out on our YouTube channel by searching Men on the Internet Network.